Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's presentation. My name is Erin Page, and I'm the Senior Law Librarian on staff with Fastcase Legal Research. And it's a pleasure to show you some of the ins and outs of Fastcase today. Before we get started, just my normal announcement, which is I adore questions. They make me very happy. So please feel free to ask questions at any point during today's presentation, and I'll weave it in to make sure that we cover everything. I'll also pause towards the end to make sure I haven't missed anything. To ask questions, there should be a question and answers box on your Zoom, and I accept them at any point during today's presentation. All right, so with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. So Fastcase is a member benefit of the California Lawyers Association. So we are one of the resources that you can access as part of your membership with the bar. Now, it is super, super easy to get from the California Lawyers Association to your member benefit in Fastcase. You don't have to have a separate username and password. You don't have to sign up for everything. Everything is automatic, and it's kind of awesome how easy it is to access. So the first thing, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and let's get us started. So on the screen right now, you should see the website of the California Lawyers Association, and hopefully this isn't a familiar place for you. And at the top right corner, when you first get on the website, you'll see the login button right here. Just simply click on it, enter your login information. I'm going to enter my demo one. And then you'll be logged into the Lawyer Association website. Now, once you're logged in, the menu up here changes just a little bit. Instead of having that join button, you'll have the My Account button in the top right corner. From here, you can access a ton of resources in Fastcase. So if you go to My Account and then come down here to where it says Fastcase, so this is the 5th item down, it'll take you to this page, which is describing your member benefit with Fastcase. So you'll see a little bit about Fastcase, some information about how to join and what is in Fastcase. You'll see a video with some of the basics about how to use Fastcase. And then right here, you'll see a tan button that says Access Fastcase. If you click on this button, it'll take you straight into the Fastcase system where you can begin your research process. However, before we leave the California Lawyers Association webpage, I want to show you some other things that you can access directly from this page without even having to go into the main Fastcase system. So at the top of the page, you'll see a couple of other drop-down menus. The third one over, labeled Sections, shows you the different sections that are a part of the California Lawyers Association. And if you have signed up for a specific section, when you click on it, you can access resources from that section. So I'm just going to use business law as our example today. And here we are on the business law section. So one of the resources that you might have used in the past when you're looking at the business law section are the publications. California Lawyers Association has a ton of cool publications providing information about the specific laws, areas of interest, upcoming regulations, all kinds of useful things for your practice. For this particular example, I'm going to snag Business Law News. And it very conveniently opens in a new tab. Now, once the publication loads, you'll see some of the resources that are a part of that particular publication. I'm going to go ahead and click one of the most recent editions. And as you can see, you'll have access to the content that's a part of this particular publication. So at the moment, we're looking at the table of contents or masthead for this particular publication. And you might notice over here on the left that there's a couple of different ways that you can view this publication. You can, of course, view it live here on the website. You can click and download a PDF of this particular publication, or you can take a look at this publication from the resources and tools that are a part of Fastcase. So if you noticed, I just clicked on this particular link, and here we are looking at the exact same publication as we saw just a moment ago, but we're in the main Fastcase system. And you can tell this because, of course, our address here at the top of the page has changed, and there's the Fastcase logo. So this is a really great place to access some of the resources from Fastcase, especially if you're interested in going beyond the publication. So the publication might cite to a case or to a statute. If you view it from the Fastcase platform itself, you can go directly from the article to the primary law that it's citing to and continue your research process there completely uninterrupted. So this works for all of the sections and all of the publications that are a part of CLA. So I really encourage you to check that out as a part of using the system and getting the most that you can out of the publications that are a part of your section. So again, just really quickly, to get to there, all I did was click on the publication I was interested in, scroll down just a little bit underneath the table of contents, and you'll see an option to download it as a PDF. And then right underneath that, you'll see an option to go directly to that article in the Fastcase database. So super easy, super simple to go directly from an article you're interested in to the primary law it's citing and to continue your research process. All right, so now that we've taken a quick look at the publications, and again, I want to welcome any questions at any point that anyone has. Let's go back to that original page that we were talking about. So My Account, then click on Fastcase. And once you're on the Fastcase page, you scroll down a little bit until you see the tan Access Fastcase button. When you click on that button, it'll take you straight into the main Fastcase system. And this is where you'll be able to access all of the content and all of the resources that are a part of Fastcase. So just giving you a little bit of background on what you can access through our system, we provide access to cases, statutes, regulations, court rules, constitutions, attorney general opinions, ethics opinions, all of the primary law from all 50 states and all federal jurisdictions. So if you have a California client, great. If you happen to have a client that's hopped the border from Oregon or has hopped the border from Nevada, still great. You have access to all 50 states and all of the primary materials. So just pointing this out because this is a great resource to access no matter where your client is located or what issue your client has that you're representing them with. All right, so just giving you a little bit of background of the page that we're currently on. This is the new Fastcase system, and this is where we are putting all kinds of innovation, tech, content, and new features to make it easier to research, and not just to research, but to research quickly, efficiently, effectively, essentially to take some of the work out of doing the legal research that allows you to zealously represent your client. So when we go through the system, I'll point out some features that are designed to make it easier to make sure that you're getting to what you want to get to the best way possible. So on this page right here, besides the lovely CLA logo in the top corner, first thing I wanted to point out is this button right here. This is the Featured Libraries button, and these libraries are documents and libraries that are directly related to your access from California Lawyers Association. So just like we saw a moment ago, how you can get to the sections and then the publications that are a part of those sections, you can also go directly to Fastcase, click on Featured Libraries, and go to the section that you are a member of to view the documents or the publications that are a part of that particular section. So as I just clicked on Business Law News, just like we did in our example a moment ago, I can select a particular edition and then a particular article and just go directly to that publication in Fastcase. So totally up to you how you want to go to that article, but it's super easy to do so. The next thing I want to point out is the Fastcase blog here in the bottom of the page. This is where we post information about Fastcase, new features, new content, new tips, new tricks, new everything about Fastcase. So if it's been a while since you've used our system and you're wondering what's new, well, that's a great place to look. And I recommend just taking a quick glance at it because we are updating constantly. So there's always something new to learn about our system. One last button down here, and this button is called Docket Alarm. Docket Alarm is Fastcase's sister product, and it's designed to interface with state and federal jurisdictions' dockets so that you can get the rest of the information about a case, the pleadings, the motions, the complaints, the exhibits, all of the information that would be part of the docket and the docket itself. Now, this is not automatically included in your access through CLA, but is an optional add-on that you can add to your access if you choose to. Happy to answer questions if you have that towards the end, but I wanted to point this out because we are in the process of integrating more and more content from Docket Alarm into our main Fastcase system. So you'll see some of the content from Docket Alarm as we go through the system, and some of it will be accessible to you as a sneak peek or as something that you can use without having to do that upgrade. So we'll take a little bit of a longer look at that in just a couple moments. All right, so let's talk about this big old search bar in the middle of the page. The first thing I want to point out is that Fastcase supports all major methods of searching. So if you have a particular citation, of course, you can enter that citation and go directly to a document. Now, you might notice that as you begin typing anything into a search box in Fastcase, that the system will start showing you suggestions right underneath that search box. And that's because of a feature that we've added called Type Ahead. Type Ahead is a form of what is known as predictive typing, where our system looks to what you've typed so far and makes suggestions based off of what you've entered. And you've probably seen this if you've used a popular search engine lately, Google or Bing or Yahoo or any search engine. And we wanted to make sure that this great tech was applied to the legal research process as well. So as you can see on the screen right now, I don't even have to enter a full citation before the system is suggesting particular documents I might be interested in. So I can literally just click and go directly to that particular document without having to enter the full site. So super easy and super fast to get to the document that you're looking for. And this doesn't just work on citations. You can enter any information that you have about a case. So for example, if you only know the party names, in the example that you see on the screen right now, I was thinking Marbury versus Madison, and before I even entered the full word Marbury, you can see that the system is suggesting the document I was looking for. So again, this works with citations, party names, judge names, anything that you have about that particular case. You can enter it and get a suggestion and go directly to that document. So kind of a cute feature that helps you to get to what you're looking for faster. In addition to that direct citation lookup, so if you have a cite for a case or a statute, etc., you can always enter that cite and go directly to that document. But in addition to that method of searching, you also have two additional methods of searching in Fastcase. You can enter what's known as a natural language search. In a natural language search, you're entering a search phrase as if you were speaking to another person. So anything that you can phrase as if you are asking a question or as if you have a statement, you can enter that as your search phrase in Fastcase and get relevant results. So that makes it super easy to come up with a search phrase to get to what you're looking for. Now, one thing to bear in mind when you use a natural language search, and that is that it's always going to be a fairly broad search. And that's because you have not put any restrictions on that search that forces that search to have a particular distance or a particular relationship between the words in your phrase. So for example, you have not told the system that you only want cases where the word dog appears within 10 words of the word bite, so close together. You haven't told the system that you're interested in any of these terms appearing, or just this exact phrase appearing, or any of those restrictions. So that means that you'll get some tangential responses when you use a natural language search. However, you do have access to also the third method of searching, which is known as a keyword or a Boolean search. In a keyword or Boolean search, your search is phrased by putting specific terms that you're interested in and placing connectors between those terms to tell the system exactly what you're looking for or exactly what you would consider relevant. Now, I mention all of these because you might have noticed that the search box will literally tell you that you're welcome to use any of those search methods. You don't have to specify a particular search method or search style. Just enter the particular search phrase you have in mind, either using natural language, citation lookup, or Boolean searching, and the system will do the work for you. Now, I realize that what I was just talking about is a little bit esoteric. So before we continue, I also wanted to point out this icon here at the top right of the page, the one that looks like a question mark in a circle. This is our help and support menu. And from here, there's a ton of resources to help you learn more about Fastcase, how to use it well, and to give you hints and tips for how to do the best type of searching in Fastcase. So this first menu item here that says Boolean tips will show you a list of all of the connectors that I was just mentioning that work in Fastcase. In addition to all of these connectors, you'll see examples of how you would use them in a search phrase, as well as examples of the types of results you get from running that search phrase. So that's the first option right here under help. You'll also have access to our user guide. This is a great step-by-step user guide with pictures showing you the full research process in Fastcase. We also have tutorial videos. These are short, 5-minute or less videos that show you specific functions in Fastcase. So if after today you don't remember how to use a particular function, we might have a short video on that. Finally, I also wanted to point out a feature here that's called hotkeys. These are keyboard shortcuts that you can use to navigate Fastcase without having to use your mouse. So these combinations allow you to get to particular menus or to particular functions in Fastcase directly. And these hotkeys are compatible with screen readers, so I do recommend checking that out if you need that type of adaptive device. All right, so enough about help and support there. Let's talk about running an actual search. So usually when you begin a search process, you have some particular goals in mind. You want to find a particular type of case or a particular issue or a particular document. Now, we just talked about the different search methods that you can use to find those items, but what happens when you run a search in Fastcase? What kinds of documents will you get back? Well, I mentioned that our system has primary law and secondary law, but when you first log into Fastcase, by default, the system is going to show you this as your jurisdiction, primary and secondary all. So that means that any search that you run in Fastcase will run across the entire Fastcase database. So you'll get cases, you'll get statutes, you'll get regulations, you'll get court rules, all of the different document types, and all of the different jurisdictions. So you'd get California law, but you'd also get Idaho and Wisconsin and Maine. So this is a great way of searching if you want to get information about how an issue or how a topic is discussed nationwide. However, most of the time, you have a particular jurisdiction or a particular document type or both in mind for your results. And that's perfectly fine. On the right end of the search box, you'll see a button that says Jurisdiction and Sources. When you click on that, the system will show you the Search Scope selector. Over here on the left, we'll see the different states and the different federal jurisdictions. On the right-hand side of the page, we have the different document types. So it's super easy to narrow down to one specific jurisdiction. So let's use, for example, California here on the left. And then I can decide if I want all California materials or if I just want cases or cases and statutes or any combination of jurisdictions that makes sense for your search. So you don't have to search just one state. You can search California and Idaho. You can search cases and statutes. Whatever combination makes the best sense for your particular research needs. Now, once you've made your selections on this right-hand side of the screen, hit Save and Continue here at the top. And as you can see, Right here, we have the search box that we saw before, and underneath it, we have the jurisdictions that we just selected. So if I ran this search now, I would only get results from the California case law and from the California statutes. Now, many times people ask, well, this is a particular combination of jurisdictions that I use all the time. Is there any way to save that so that I see it automatically when I log in? And of course, the answer is yes. Just to the left of these jurisdictions we've just selected, you'll see these 4 small icons. If you click on the icon that looks like a star, that will pop up this menu that allows you to set this as your default jurisdiction. So now, anytime you log into Fastcase from the California Lawyers Association, this would be the combo that you'd see. Well, if you were logged in as me, I suppose. So it's super easy to set your default jurisdiction and to change it if you need to later. All right, so now that we've set our jurisdiction, let's go ahead and run our search. For this one, I'm going to use Miranda warning. All right, so I have my search phrase, I've set my jurisdiction, and I'm ready to hit the orange search button. Once you've hit the orange search button, you'll be taken to the results page. And the first thing I want to point out is at the top of the results page, you still have the search phrase that you used to run that search. So if at any point you need to modify that search phrase, or you want to focus it down by adding a new term, or remove a set of terms or a set of results from your search, you can do so at any time here at the top of the page. So if I wanted to, I could add "and police," whatever makes sense for my particular search. Underneath this search box, you'll see the results panel here on the right-hand side of the page. These results are bottomless, which means that as I scroll down, more results are automatically loaded. So I don't have to worry about, am I on page 1 or page 20 of the results? I can just simply scroll down and see additional results. In addition to having the ability to see all the results, these results are sorted in order of relevance. So the most relevant result to my search is going to be at the top of my results list. Less relevant ones get pushed to the bottom. However, they don't have to stay in that order if I don't want them to. At the top right corner of the page, I have the little sort by option here. And if I click on relevance, I can see all of the other sort options for my particular set of results. So I can order my results by date, newest first or oldest first. I can order them by the number of times they've been cited to, which is a great way to get those seminal cases to the top of the page. And I can sort them alphabetically if I need to. So super easy to get the results in the order that makes sense to you. Now, for my current results, I currently have 959 results. And on the left-hand side of the page here, this final panel, I can see what restrictions I've put on my search and add or remove them as I need to. So right here at the top, it'll say current sources and will show me the libraries or the jurisdictions that I've restricted my search to currently. So here we have California cases and California statutes. If I want to remove one of these, all I have to do is click on the X and that jurisdiction will be removed as a filter, or I can remove all of them right here. Underneath the current sources box, I have the option to add an additional source or an additional jurisdiction to my current results. So for example, if I wanted to add the Ninth Circuit, all I would have to do is click on this checkbox here, and I would get 376 additional results here on the right-hand side. Super easy to add additional courts or to remove them whenever you need to. Underneath those primary and secondary sources, I also have a couple of other filters available here in the bottom. First one I want to point out is the date range filter. This allows me to set a date range for my search results. So if I only want to see results from the last 20 years, or from the last year, or from 1982 to 1987, I can specify that using these filters, And once I've applied these filters, my results over here on the right-hand side of the page will automatically update. Underneath the date range filter, we also have a useful tool, especially if you're sort of researching in an area of law that you're not terribly familiar with. So let's say I wasn't familiar with Miranda warning results. I might not know what additional terms I want to add to my search to focus it. I mean, I currently have 959 results. That's kind of a bit much to expect to read, and probably will have a lot of results that I don't need to read. So I might want to focus this search, and I can use the suggested terms from this panel here at the bottom to give me ideas for terms that I might want to add to my search phrase. So this list is showing me terms of art and common legal phrases that are currently appearing in my results. So for example, let's say I decide that I'm interested in Miranda warning cases where there's been a waiver. All I would have to do is hit the plus sign right here, and my new term, waiver, will be added to my search phrase up here, and my results over here on the right will filter to show me only the results that included my original phrase and my new term. So I would go from having 959 results here to having 349, which is less than half of what I started with. So you can see it's very easy to get very specific very quickly by adding some of those terms that's in that particular filter. Now, you don't have to just add a term to your results. You can also use it to exclude terms from your results. So if you run a search and you glance at that box and you're like, oops, I did not mean to include due process. Fair enough. You can hit the minus sign next to that term and remove those particular results from your results list here. So again, super easy and super quick to get suggestions for how to focus your search, even if you're not terribly familiar with that area of law. One last filter to point out, and then we'll move on to what a case looks like. So this filter right here, the one that says briefs, pleadings, motions, and orders, this is that content that I mentioned from our sister product, Docket Alarm. So just as a reminder, Docket Alarm pulls those briefs, pleadings, motions, orders, and other information from the dockets themselves. And you can use this particular set of filters to jump to that type of content. Now, just as a reminder, not included in your basic California access through the CLA, but it's something you can add on if you're interested. So if you wanted to see a brief regarding this particular case, you could do that. All right, so now that we've talked about all of those filters, let's actually grab a case. How about People v. Kaufman? By the way, you might have noticed that I just had a little pop-up appear here. We have some useful tutorial pop-ups that'll show up the first time you access Fastcase. So if you ever need a little reminder tour, you can use those pop-ups to give you little reminders about what we're talking about today. All right, so here we are on the document view page. And on the left-hand side of the page, you can see I still have my results from the results list. So this is so I can go ahead and jump around between the results. So I can start on this People v. Kaufman case, and then I can go to Walker versus Department of Motor Vehicles whenever I'm ready. I don't have to go back and forth between the results page and the document view. I can just click and go. However, if you ever want to make the document view full page, that's perfectly fine. Over here on the leftmost side of the page, you'll see a set of icons. Each of these icons represents one of the panels that's visible on this page. As you can see, the results panel and the document panel are currently highlighted. If I want to remove the results so that the document panel becomes full screen, all I have to do is click on that. It'll turn off, and as you can see, now we have the document view as the full page. So super easy to go back and forth between all of the different panels that are on this screen. All right, so now that we have the document that we're interested in on the page, you can see, of course, that our documents will have full citation, full pagination, ready to use. And I do know that sometimes our font might be a little small for some users. We have a great new feature over here in the top corner that allows you to adjust the size of the font. So if you ever need to make it bigger, all you have to do is hit that plus sign. Ever decide it's too big, just hit that minus sign. So you can adjust right here, just for the document, how big the font is to make it easier for you to read. Above this great new tool, we have the Find in Document options. So when you run a search, the search phrase that you use to find the documents will always be highlighted on that document. And you can just jump to that particular term just by clicking on that icon right there. However, once you've found a document, sometimes you want to find another term that's in that document. So for example, let's say that I wanted to know where the word supreme, as in Supreme Court, appeared in this case. All I have to do is enter that new term I'm interested in, hit the orange search button, and my term will highlight in my document, and I'll be able to jump from term to term until I see all of the locations in this document where the word supreme appears. So super easy, again, to find a particular term or particular phrase in your document. On the right-hand side of this particular panel, I have a couple of icons that are really useful for using this document and making sure it's accessible to you. So the first icon I want to point out is this one that's shaped like a downward pointing arrow. If you click on that icon, you'll see the options for downloading documents from Fastcase. And just a quick note about your access to Fastcase. Your access to Fastcase is unlimited, which means that you don't have to worry about how long you're logged into Fastcase, how many searches you've run in Fastcase. You can download as much as you'd like, print as much as you'd like. There's no incremental charges in Fastcase, so you can literally do all of the actions that you'd like to. Don't worry, no extra charge. To be serious about this, I did in fact help one person one day download the entire US code. I still have no idea what he wanted to do with it, but it's perfectly fine to download as much as you'd like from our system. Speaking of the download options, you do have a couple of them. You can elect to have the document download as a PDF or as a Microsoft Word formatted document. And you can choose if the document has dual columns, like the old reporters, or a single column to take advantage of the full page width. Once you've made your selection, hit the orange download button, and the document will download to the bottom of your browser where you can click on it, save it, email it, print it, whatever you'd like to do with that document. You can also direct print from Fastcase. So if you just want to send it to the printer and be done, you can direct print by either right-clicking and hitting the print button, or by using the keyboard shortcut Control and P as in Paul. Once you've hit that, you'll see the option to direct print to your printer, and then you can do whatever you'd like with that document as well. All right, going back to the icons here at the top right, the next icon over is the sharing icon. That's the icon that looks like a sideways V. And when you click on it, you'll see some options for sharing this document from Fastcase. The first one I want to point out is this option here that says Add to Print Queue, Add to Export Queue. When you click on that, that adds this specific document to a queue, which you can then use to download multiple documents at the same time. So let's say that I found this case, but I've also found 10 other ones. I don't have to download them one at a time. I can just use that Add to Export Queue option to add them all to my queue. Then once I've added what I'm interested in, I can click on the Export Queue button right here. That's the one that looks like a cloud with an arrow on it. And once I've added that, I'll see the documents that I've added to the queue already. And if I'm sure I've got the ones I'm interested in, click on the Export button. Now I have the same options I had before, Adobe PDF or Microsoft Word. I have dual or single column formatting. And I have an additional option here at the bottom. I can elect to download the documents as one long document, which is convenient if you're downloading a bunch of statutes or a bunch of regs, or I can elect to download the documents in a zipped folder with each document as a separate document in that folder. And I tend to like to do that if I'm downloading a bunch of cases. I don't have to worry about one case going into the next one, just each one is a separate document. And again, just hit download, and then you'll have that batch of documents at the bottom of your browser. One additional kind of expert tip here, you can also use this export window to see documents that you've downloaded in the past. And if you're anything like me and you can't remember where you saved them to, you can export them again just by clicking on this export button here. Also available from that sharing icon, you have a couple of other methods for sharing a document from Fastcase. You can email a document directly from Fastcase. All you have to do is hit that button, enter the email address of the recipient, and then hit that send button, and the document you've just selected will travel in the body of the email. So you don't have to worry about, is there an attachment? Did the attachment go through? It'll just display in the body of the email. And the final search method that you can see from this menu is what's known as a public link. So a public link is a public domain copy of the document that you're currently viewing. So anyone that I give this link to, a colleague, opposing counsel, my client, a friend, even the court, although ask permission for that last one. But anyone you give that link to will have access to exactly the same document that you were just viewing. So exactly the same pagination, exactly the same citation, exactly the same formatting, but they don't have to be logged into Fastcase to view the document. In fact, they don't have to have Fastcase access at all. All they need is that link, and they'll be able to view exactly that same document. So one of the examples that I've seen, sometimes people talk about cases or statutes as part of their blog or their social media. You could include a link to the case or the document that you're talking about, and then everyone will actually be able to understand the point you're trying to make, or will be able to see the reference that you're referring to. So kind of a useful thought for any blogging or any social media or any sharing that you do of cases and statutes and for other primary law. All right. Now, underneath those two icons, you'll also see this icon that looks like a little ribbon. This is the bookmark icon. And if I click on it, this will save this particular document as a part of my information that's tied to my account. So this means that the next time I log into Fastcase, whether it's from this particular computer or from the law library or from the office or from any other computer, these bookmarks will travel with my login, which means I don't have to worry about the fact that I might be on a different computer. To access or view your bookmarks, up here at the top of the page, you'll see an icon shaped like a clock with a little circle around it. This is your history, bookmarks, and alerts icon. And when you click on it, the first thing you'll see is your search history. This search history is tied to your profile, which means that you're the only one who can access it, and includes your 10,000 most recent searches in Fastcase. So you can see the exact keywords that you used, the jurisdiction that you ran the search in, everything that you need in order to recreate that search. Again, if I wanted to just see the search that I'd run previously, I'd just click on the search phrase here, and it'll run that search for me. The next tab over is the document history. And from here, I can see all of the recent documents that I viewed. So if you don't remember how you got to a particular document, just that you viewed it on Friday, you'd be able to access it from here as well. The next tab over, this is the bookmarks. So as you can see, there's People v. Kaufman, the case we just bookmarked. And it's super easy to just click on the name of that document and go directly to that case or that primary law document. Next over is the space for saved searches. So if you run a particular search on a routine basis, you can save that search and then rerun it with just one click. Finally, the last tab that's on this particular menu is the Case Law Alerts tab. If you run a search in Fastcase for any topic, you can set an alert on that search and be notified via email anytime there's new case law on that particular topic. So this one is currently set to send me cases based off of consideration, but whatever search that you've run, you can be notified automatically when there's new materials on that subject. So up here at the top, if Miranda warning was the search that I was interested in and I wanted to set that alert, I'd just click on this arrow here, click on add as alert, and then I'll receive an email every time there's a new Miranda warning case in California. So again, super easy to stay up to date and to make sure you're not missing some vital information without having to rerun the search yourself manually every single time. All right, one more icon to show you, and that's the one over here at the top left. This is the authority check report, which is the Fastcase citator. So if you've looked at a case, it looks good, and you want to see how the court has interpreted that case, you can click on the flag to open the report on the left-hand side of the screen. Now, at the very top of the report, just to the right of where it says authority check, you'll see a little download icon right here. This allows you to download this report anytime you want to. You don't have to download the case with it. You can just download just the authority check report. Underneath that name of the document, you'll see the name of the actual case that you're currently on, and then you'll see the filter button. So from here, you can select a specific jurisdiction or a specific library. So if you wanted the Ninth Circuit only, you could get that. You can also sort these results. So by default, it's going to show you the most recent citation to your case at the top, but you can also sort it to most cited to get those seminal cases that are citing to your decision. All right, so this report will show you both negative treatment that's been applied to your case, as well as a full list of all citing cases. So if I wanted to, I could scroll down until I've seen all 1.5 thousand results here for this particular report. So this is what it looks like when a case has a neutral or a positive interpretation. However, we're all very aware that not every case is in good standing. So let's take a look at what the authority check report would look like for a case that is negative. So of course, the case we're seeing on the screen right now is Plessy versus Ferguson, which was overruled by Brown versus Board of Education. And you can see right away all of the negative treatment for the case, as well as why we consider this particular case to be negative. So it's super easy to see the status of a case and decide how you want to treat it or how you want to use it as a part of your argument. And yes, we do track and tab all of the different treatments of the case, whether it was superseded, remanded, reversed, overruled, questions criticized, you name it, we track it. All right, so that's enough about some of the basics about the document, but we've only been talking about how you search in Fastcase so far. And search is not the only way you can get to a particular document. Underneath the search box, you'll see this bright blue Browse button. And if I click on it, it'll take me to the outline page. So here I am, and at the top of the page, you can see it's set for California and federal. However, you can change this at any time you'd like. Just simply come up here to the top left corner of the page, click on Change Jurisdiction, and you can select whatever jurisdiction you'd like to see instead. Once you have the jurisdiction you're interested in, on the left-hand side of the page, you'll see primary materials, and on the right-hand side of the page, you'll see secondary content. Now, as I mentioned earlier, your access through the CLA provides access to primary materials, but we do have secondary content by popular demand, and you can choose to add it on or upgrade to it if you choose, anytime. Now, each library will have next to it a couple of small icons. If a library has a magnifying glass next to it, that's a library that can be searched. If a library has 3 parallel lines next to it, on the other hand, that's a library that you can see from its outline. So for example, let's go ahead and grab the California Code. So here we are on the California Code page, and as you can see, I can see the various editions that are available in Fastcase. If I click on the edition, I can then see the subject or title. For this one, let's do the penal code just for fun. Once I have the subject area open, I can see the parts. I can go down to the titles. Let's do crimes against the person because I think homicide is fun. There we go. And then I can select the individual section that I'm interested in. Once I've made my selection, the section will show up on the right-hand side of the page, while the outline is still visible here on the left-hand side of the page. And this tends to be convenient because you frequently need to go from one section to the next section to the next section. So that way you don't have to search for them independently. You can just click and go. By the way, if you want to get an entire section or an entire chapter, you can do so over here on the left-hand side of the screen by clicking on the download arrow next to the section you're trying to get the entirety of. So if I clicked here, I get chapter 1 as one long document. All right. Looking at the section over here on the right-hand side of the page, you may notice that a bunch of the features and tools that are here are the same ones that we discussed when we were looking at the case. However, we do have one change. Over here at the top left, instead of having a flag icon for the authority check report, I have a capital letter A for annotations. And if I click on that, on the left-hand side of the page, I'll see all of the cases that are citing to my specific sections, the one I'm currently viewing. And just like we saw for the authority check report, I can download these annotations, I can filter them to a particular jurisdiction, and I can change the sort order anytime I choose to. Now, let me make a really quick note about how quickly Fastcase updates. New case law hits our system within 24 hours of that opinion being issued by the court. Now, of course, we won't have any sealed documents, but once the case is available, we will have it in our system within 24 hours. Non-case law materials, such as statutes, regulations, court rules, things of that nature, will update on the same schedule as the issuing body. So if they update on a weekly basis, so do we. Monthly basis, so do we. Annual basis, you get the idea. So our system always stays very up to date and very easy to see the latest law on whatever topic you're searching. All right, so I do want to pause for just a second and encourage any listeners to go ahead and ask any questions they might have by using that question and answer box. And while people are thinking about those questions, let's take a look at a couple of advanced features that you also have in Fastcase. So I'm just going to pop back to the start page for just a moment. And I'm just going to really quickly mention the features or the links that we have here at the top of the page. You've already seen the export queue, where you can download multiple documents at the same time. And you've already seen the history, bookmarks, and alerts tab, where you can see your search history, anything you've bookmarked, and any alerts that you've sent. We talked earlier about the question mark icon, which shows you help and support materials, but we haven't mentioned this icon right here. So from this icon, you can see some of the partners that Fastcase has, and there's a special tool right here called cloud linking that we'll be talking about in just a second. Looks like we have a question from the audience. Is there any way to exclude any paid results from your search? Yes. Give me just a second and I'll show you that next. So just from this dropdown we were just looking at, you can see some of the partners. For example, if you need people search or credit reporting searching information, we have a partnership with TransUnion TLOXP, so you can access that type of materials. We have a law reporting and newspaper function called Law Street Media. By the way, that's free. So if you're ever interested in legal news on the hottest topics in legal, tech, agriculture, or health law, we have a great service for that. We do synchronize with Clio Practice Management. So if you're using Clio to keep track of your billable hours in your invoicing, we do synchronize with that. A feature that's available for free for Bar Association members is our new COVID-19 case alerts function, which will send you the latest law related to COVID-19 automatically for free. And the tool I was just mentioning is called Cloud Linking. So Cloud Linking allows you to upload a document to Fastcase and have every single case that's cited in that document automatically have a link placed on it so that you can go directly from that particular site to the document that it came from. So let's say you have a motion or a memo or something else that's citing to a bunch of cases. You can run that document through the Cloud Linking function, and then anyone who cites or clicks on one of those citations will be able to view the public domain, public link copy that we talked about earlier of that primary law case. So super easy to make sure that anyone who receives that memo or that motion has access to every single case that you cited to. So I recommend checking it out. It's kind of an awesome time-saving tool, and it's available from that little waffle icon up here at the top right. Now, to answer the question we had a moment ago regarding your results, if you click on the icon here at the top right, you'll see your actual account functions. And the first one on this list is labeled Settings. When you click on this icon, you have the option to include or exclude certain types of results from your results. So for example, if you don't want to see documents or secondary content or treatises in your results that you have not purchased, you can use this toggle button to remove that type of content. When I run searches, I frequently include historic editions. So our system automatically will show you the most recent edition of documents, the most recent statutes, the most recent regs. But I like being able to see the historic editions, the ones from 2020, but also the ones from 2019 and 2007, all of those other editions as well. So each of these toggles controls a certain type of material that's part of your results. The other function that you see at the bottom of this page is our other advanced tool. And this is called the relevance algorithm. So earlier I mentioned that your results would automatically be listed in relevance order. So the most relevant document at the top of the page, least relevant one pushed to the bottom. However, one of the questions we sometimes get is, how does Fastcase determine if one document is more relevant than another? And the answer to that is that we take the 8 factors that you see on the screen right now into account when determining relevance. And by the way, we're the only legal research platform that makes this information available to you, the researcher. So these are the 8 factors that we take into account. And as you might have noticed, you can actually customize the amount of weight that each of these factors is given in determining if a particular document is more relevant or less relevant. Let's say, for example, that you're running a search and you don't care how old a particular case is. Well, you can get rid of that particular factor. How about you want to see those seminal cases at the top of your results every time? Well, you can increase that factor. Each of these factors can be customized to your preferences. However, I will say for the record that the default one is pretty good, but there are a possible million different combinations here. So check it out and tweak it a little bit so that you always get the results that you're most interested in at the top of your results list. All right, I know I'm running a little light on time, so I'm going to go ahead and just point out a couple of really quick things, and then we'll see if we have any questions. So when you're using the Fastcase system, you always have access to the Fastcase support team. So we have trained reference attorneys and law librarians who are available to you as part of your access to Fastcase. We are available from 8 a.m. through 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So I'm going to do the math completely wrong, but I believe that's from 5 a.m. until 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Hopefully I did the math right. But you're always welcome to reach out to us via phone, 866-773-2782. You can email us. Our email address is support, that's SUPPORT, @fastcase.com. Or we do have a chat function in our system. So if you use that chat function, you'll connect directly to our office, West Coast or East Coast, depending on who's available. And you can chat live with the law librarians or reference attorneys. I do recommend checking that function out, especially if you have a complicated research question, because it means that we can send you suggested search phrases or links to specific materials that you can just click on and go directly to that content. It looks like we have an additional question. Do we include these California State Bar court cases? At the moment, the answer is no, but the answer is we are expanding and probably will include that fairly soon. So keep an eye out on our system for announcements. You'd see that here at the bottom of the start page as a part of the blog. So we will announce when new content becomes part of our system. So keep an eye out for that as we expand. And we're doing a big expansion at the moment. All right. Any questions? All questions are welcome. A little bit of a quiet group. That's okay. I also just want to point out, we encourage feedback. We encourage any suggestions that you might have. So if there's a particular resource you'd love to see in Fastcase, we'd love to hear about it. We are constantly updating, as I mentioned, our system. So new features and new tools and new content is constantly becoming a part of our system. So we welcome any feedback you have. How do you like the system? What features would you like to see in the future? What content would you like to see? We take suggestions. We try our best to do them. So we welcome any feedback that you might have because we want to make sure our system is the best it can be for everyone. So again, feel free to reach out to us. We appreciate your getting to know Fastcase and your member benefit from the California Lawyers Association. And we welcome any questions that you might have. All right, looks like we've got a quiet group today. So again, thank you very much for joining me for today's session. I appreciate the opportunity to show off the system, and I hope that everyone has a great afternoon.